What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kobe Report. I'm your host, Ryan C. Gale, and I'm really excited to be back here recording and just chatting with you all. Today, I have an amazing person here. Her name is Eva Delacruz. I got the opportunity to work with Eva. She helped me with the new rebrand for the Kobe Report. Welcome, Eva.
Thank you.
Just a little intro about Eva. She kickstarted her career over at ESPN, honing in on her skills as a video editor for over 7 years. She transitioned into agency life where she embraced the realm of art direction, collaborating with prestigious clients such as YouTube, Beats, Timberland, and even Disney. Beyond her professional endeavors, Eva enjoys streetwear, she indulges in her passion such as TV and film, and channels her creativity through painting during hiatuses. Welcome again, Eva.
Well, thank you.
It's been a long time.
I know, it has been.
We've been talking about this for a minute.
Yeah,
it's been a long time coming. I needed to have you on the podcast. You were very necessary to the rebranding and all of the new changes, including the name. With the Kobe Report. And so, I never worked with the art director before. And I felt comfortable working with you because just outside of working together, we kind of already knew each other just through being in New York, being outside, friends. And we would get up. And we would get drinks, and then it was just I mentioned to you I had a podcast.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's when you told me you were an avid podcaster.
Yeah.
And so it was really organic.
And
it was
when you think about it, it did.
And it didn't feel like I'm just paying this person to do something, And I appreciated that aspect of it because that's how I like to work in general, just being a freelance stylist, being able to pick and choose the type of jobs that I want to, it all just has to align.
Yes, that's real.
So yeah, that was special.
It really was, and it really happened like that. It really happened very natural, very organic, and again, all working relationships ain't like this. So we was really vibing.
Yeah,
it was you would not play. You'd be like, okay, I want to see it in this color,
right?
Yeah, and okay.
So let's take it back though. Let's take it back to your journey into your career and what got you your start where you are today. I know you started at over ESPN, so tell us how did it happen? ESPN is serious. That's a really big program.
It was, and listen, that place is huge. And, pretty much my uncle was working there, and from there he was able to get me in front of the right people to interview. And I had no clue what I was going into. I did not know this world of TV was about to be this huge, and I thought it was gonna be glamorous. I thought it was gonna be fun, and we're just hanging around.
Right.
No, I was a media operator. I was literally pressing play on all the clips.
So did you know already you wanted to work at ESPN or
I wanted to work in television.
Okay.
I was I'm all about that, but it was all storytelling.
Okay.
I think it's always, and I've come to that. It's the root of it. Is telling stories. I didn't necessarily want it to be sports, but it was a vehicle where I knew I could tell different. I could just get into that space.
And shout out to your uncle. I tell people, it's never what you know.
Oh, absolutely.
It's who you know. That's what's going to get you the interview. That's what's going to get you in the door.
Absolutely.
Always.
That's always the way. Now, low key, it'd be really how you can network across. And it was wild. It was a wild start, but it was necessary for me to learn how to be in a space where you're not familiar and find your grounding, find what makes you stand out. And I think that was important because there's so many people, there's so many editors. There's not a lot of Black women editors. That's always the thing in that space. But at the same point, promotions and recognition, it was very hard because it was a big C.
And you stayed there for 7 years?
I know.
So what kept you?
I think it was more of me, like, the security of, like, all right, my money is good. I have a job. There's layoffs. And I wanted to make that move, but I also didn't know how to necessarily, like, shift.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure which direction. But it's just crazy because when I was ready, all the pieces came to me and all the, like, the opportunities came. And again, like,
it's crazy how it always happens like that.
Yeah, it was, because I think about it now. It's like the work I was doing was very much like an interview for the next stage. Like, I was on the tail end. I was creating social content and pitching it to just different social channels, and it was like they were literally giving me edit time to do it. I had created a team of people, and we would create content and we would pitch it, and it was culturally more sound. The music was a lot more like, okay, it matches what is, like, out there. It wasn't cheesy.
And so, like, during that time, was there already, like, I feel like these social media roles are new. Like, was that new? Was that already a role? Or did they know, like, how to create that for you? Or did they have to create it? Like, what was that?
Yeah. You know, that's funny because it was very much in the very earlier stage. Like, they had social teams, but they weren't necessarily, like, still learning how to respond to the demand, still learning how to, like, carve out, like, what the content looked like from the show content. How does the social content, like, leverage up? And every time I was watching it, like, I'll be watching programs and it'll be a funny bite. I'm like, oh, they need to grab that and, like, cut it up, put it on, you know. And it's like those things I was already seeing and recognizing, like, these are good ways to support. And I think I was just kind of push that and try to push that to the producers of these shows, of their socials. And yeah, the teams were rolling out, like, low-key, like, Sneaker Center. I remember when they were, like, even just starting it. It was everything was, like...
It was the beginning.
It was very much the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. So
did your role change at all during that time? Or
It didn't. That's another reason why I had to leave.
They was trying to keep you leaving?
It was a ceiling. It felt very much like you can grow to certain spaces, but, like, you had to kind of play a certain game. You had to be in line. Yeah, nah. I just, you know, I felt it. I had to get up. I had to leave.
So what inspired, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, your transition from editing into what you do now, art direction.
Yeah, well, pretty much, like, from there, it was just knowing I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more hands-on. And then a friend I was starting at Translation, which is an agency, and she was heading up, like, a social team. And from there, I think she had, like, put it on her story or something, and I was just like, yeah, like, a content creator or some like of the sorts, and that's how I got in, you know. And again, like, interview went through the rounds, and it was just like, it was fate, because, like, I was really at that boiling point. It was during the pandemic, so I was actually, like, halfway working at home, half time going into the office. So it was very much things weren't feeling normal, and that happened like that, and I was able to start new in this new art direction. It was more social content creation, art, but I was immersed in, like, this whole in the agency world, and I was able to see so much of the lines of what they do, of how it's been done, and how it's been, like, things that I've been doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. So, as an art director, for our rebranding and name change, what were some of the key challenges you faced, like, during that process?
Let's see. The key challenges. I feel like
there were any.
You're right. Like, you know, don't have to be a problem if there wasn't.
Right.
No, honestly, I think there were never, like, challenges. I think it was more of, like, the exploration, just honoring it. Like, I think, like, you know, with the process, I wanted to make sure it felt good to you and felt like it represented you, but I also wanted to make sure I was, like, bringing you, like, ideas that could push you a little bit out of what you were kind of, like, kind of already set in. And so I think that was, so it really wasn't a challenge. I think it was just my awareness of it. Yeah. You know?
I mean, I guess it was more so a challenge for me, I would say, because it's like, I'm pretty simple. And I know I had mentioned to you, like, I can be very minimal at all the time. And I think it's just my my go-to is just simple. It's just easy to navigate. But with this new change, I wanted it to be a little bit more fun. I wanted to add a little pop to it, and less minimal and more. I guess how would you describe it?
I think you definitely wanted minimal, but you also, I remember we went like cozy.
Yeah.
And, like it wanted to feel fun. Cozy. There was just like levels of that. Also wanted to feel flexible because like there's just a lot of different ways in which you could take this.
Right.
So I had to encompass all that.
And so I guess like the process, because when I came to you, I was like, I gotta change the name.
Yeah.
And I was just like, like, I don't really know. I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't think of any ideas. And, I feel like what you do is just so incredible because, like, I can't do what you do. Like, I feel like you thought of the COVID report. Like, I feel like when you said it, you just said it. Like, you didn't think anything of it.
I thought it was like a, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. That's how the creative process can be. Literally, the answer will be there, and you'll be like, all right, let's put that there, and let's go on a whole exploration.
That's what you said. You was like, I was like, no, that's it. And he was like, nah, I don't think that's it.
Like, we gotta like map it out. Cause it's like, if we get there after we've done the work, cool.
Yeah.
But if we didn't do the work, I'm like, let's just make sure.
Gotta explore.
And it did. And we're like, there was some ones though that I was like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
But
because I think another one that I really enjoyed too was what was it? It was like, I don't know if we still had Kobe report in it. Invoice away.
Yeah.
That one was cool. But I really wanted to, and I said this in the last episode, I really wanted to step away from that broke mentality, or not even like broke. It's just kind of like you gotta speak in abundance. You really have to change your mindset about the way you think about yourself and like how you speak about yourself.
That's facts.
You know?
And just, what you project, I feel that. And also don't box it into something, because like when you get past that, then,
there's more. And I like how we left it with the report, because, we're reporting on everything. We're reporting on music, we're reporting on, you were having conversations with friends, reporting on our careers, reporting on our experiences and our stories. And it's just really important to we can share stories in so many different ways. Like how you said, like you wanted to tell stories through TV and film. And I feel like it's just another way. The podcast, the reporting is just another way to.
It is. It's a vehicle though. It really is, because like you said, it's just the way you just kind of touch and just bring all these elements into it. So.
Okay, so how did your experience over at ESPN influence your approach in art direction?
It honestly created a lot of the foundation of like, I think that art direction has shown me like the arc of like telling a story, but also putting all the details into the story.
Okay.
So it's like, I want to make this food, but like, what's it gonna taste like? What's the color palette? Like all these different pieces. And I think when I was creating that social content, we would like think about, okay, well, what's happening around? Who's the audience? How can we have this? Who can we incorporate? All these pieces to make it, and not even knowing I was running the runs of just like, okay, creating something, creating content from like a concept. And it really kind of, I was already doing it very naturally. So when I started to learn the process in a more structured space, it was like, oh, okay, this feels natural to me.
Right.
And actually, I love the expansion of it now. It's, it's bigger. There's a lot more to be like responsible for.
Got it. And art direction, that's kind of like a new title to me. Cause I remember when I asked you when I was working on like the newsletter, I was like, well, how should I, how should I title what you helped me, what you created for me? And I was like, is it what did I say? Designer?
Cause it does overlap. Like I did do the actual designs, but like it also was like a two-parter, the art direction and design. But I think, there was a lot. It was like a both. It is, part. Yeah.
So, like, how would you break that down, or how would you like differentiate between like designer versus like a art director?
Yeah, I think that's one that also kind of like in the industry, it still kind of gets overlapped into two. There's always this like, okay, if you're an art director, you should be a designer. And I think that as I'm talking to more people, as I'm talking to more art directors, and as I'm learning, it's like you don't necessarily like have to be. That can be your specialty. That can be like what you're really good. I'm a really good designer. I think you do need to be able to speak that language, to do some form of like creating and concepting, but like you can bridge into more like I like to be like, I'm more video focused, and I think that you can definitely go that lane. There are other places where they expect you to be more of a designer. And I think that I had to learn that and differentiate that. But also, I also was like, I need to adapt, and I got to make sure I can have these skills, because there are a lot of times where you do need to be able to like work in some Photoshops and Illustrator.
Exactly. Because director, that's a serious title. Like, you can't be taking on that if you can't do all of the things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah. They be wanting you to do all the things. You're like, well, damn, there's a lot of roles. And so, it is like something where, but I'm also like allowing myself the freedom to not feel like I have to be the best design. No, but I can like speak the language. I can understand. I can concept. I can, get stuff going. I can, create. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay. I feel like I'm also learning some new things about you too, especially with when because you keep speaking on like film. So it's just like, I know you were saying you started off at ESPN in the control room. So what exactly was it that you was trying to do, or what were those expectations that you had when you were at ESPN, like to get into like the TV and film world?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I think I felt like I wanted to work in like network television and more like scripted.
Okay.
But I think
not holding a camera. I don't know why I feel like you wanted to be.
Yeah, like I wanted to. I honestly, editing was like fun to me because I got to concept when I could concept and be like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and I think that really showed me like where I needed to be, because like normally though with editing, you do work with a producer. They come in, they tell you what to cut, what to edit, or the creatives are similar. And I was like, I don't like to just have to do what your vision is. It sounds mad uncollaborative.
I want to do all the things.
Yeah, it's like I want to actually have input in like how we're storytelling. And I've worked with some really good creatives and producers when I was as an editor, where they would let you kind of like play. But for the most part, it is very much you're executing their vision. And I'm like, no, I want to execute the vision. And
that's where the director comes in.
Yeah. So I want to be able to like inform the like concept of who are we getting, how are we like shooting it. And so I think that really did kind of give me more like lens on like how that world works and how it works for me.
So have you been able to tap into that creative side of the editing process when it comes to like TV and film? Have you been able to tap into that yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I feel like at every job I've been at, I've had to step in on some editing capacity. Like, and I think that's something now I'm aware of when I when I'm coming in, like, hey, if you're gonna utilize that talent, you gotta pay for that talent too. Okay, like you can't and it's something where also too I'm aware of it in certain ways, but I also don't want it to be very much like my sole thing. Like I'm not. That's not me. I want to be more of the like, hey, this is how I want to execute it, and speaking to the editor, working with them, but I don't want to be like the executor.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It makes sense now. It makes sense, because at first I was just like, what exactly does it all entail? But it's in everything. But like you said, it's more so speaking to the language of it.
So I had a graphic design minor in college, and with that, I was able to see how like graphic design language and how it speaks and how it's a part of like different campaigns and just the whole world of it.
Right.
And I really wish I could have really like kept going with it, but you know how college is, like if you don't have, and you're like, okay, you got a few credits left, you don't have all the classes. They're like, well, you can't. I'm like, girl, I only have 2 classes, so I can't. But you know, either way, like it did give me a bit of the world, and I wish I could have gotten a little bit more. But like I'm really grateful for my path. I'm grateful for the way that I was able to experience and learn about these parts and come into it very new, but also knowing that I've been doing a lot of this stuff. It just has more context now.
Right. So how do you feel like, because I feel like with graphic design, well, just in your world in general with editing, is it like a skill that you feel like you have to keep learning? Like you have this, like, how do you stay up to date with like all of the latest like new resources or tools or new methods to do things? I mean for one, social, like I think that's key. Just being actively watching what are the trends, what are you seeing, like the types of like just looks and different ways of content of like who's doing this, how is it looking, how are people like emulating it. And then also too, there's just so many tools. There's so many like reports on like, oh, this is new X or Y is coming up, or like there's so many ways. I think it is just so you have to seek them out. And for me, I'm always like, okay, oh look, I done saw this article from here and reading these things and just constantly making sure, because especially working with social, I think that too puts on this extra like need to know, because constantly changing,
adding things. So yeah, it is really like seeking out the resources. But
also, you were taking classes of some sort when we were working on. We were like at the tail end of the rebrand. So like, explain a little bit more about like those classes that you were taking and like how did you find those, or like you know?
Oh yeah, so I was very well. Yes, it was my low Funemployment. I was laid off, and so your project actually came at a perfect time because I was in a world where I was like, okay, how do I fill this space? How do I not have a thing to do? And for me, I'm just like, fill it with things, find things. So I was just like,
and let me tell y'all, okay, she was on it. Like when I say professional, like professional, I mean, because this was a pretty serious project to me, but it was just like, this ain't no salary, you know what I'm saying? But you came with it like, this is a real job, and I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. I think also because I knew your energy too, and I love that Capricorn very much. Like, all right, I'm gonna set up the meeting, and like, yep, okay, let me have something to show, deliverables. We had a work bag, and I think that like with that process, I had took a art direction class from a Brazilian arts agency. Aprender. It's crazy. But Aprender design, I believe, and it was like a way for me to like have like a weekly thing to do. I got to meet other creatives. It was led by like Dudash. They're a really good, really great like creative director. And again, that was like ways for me to still feel connected to the community and also have the brain space to like soak in what I wasn't able to do when I was like in my like working. And then your project came, and that gave me like, oh, I've got this, like my brain is kind of like, you know, tinkering, and now I actually have
work on it.
I can apply some of these things. I can apply things from before, and I was just, and I think after the tail end of your project, I had gotten to another program,
which was awesome. If you don't mind sharing, a super awesome program that you were in.
That was I was with the Creative Comeback, and I got to pitch to Diago and work on a live brief.
Who is Diago? Talk your shit.
Oh yeah. So Smirnoff,
exactly.
And it was a live brief where we got to pitch in front of their whole team, CEO, a bunch of creatives in the industry.
Right.
And I think again, it was like everything was affirming like where I was moving. Just coming off of your project, I was feeling very much like I want to see how this grows, and I was also like getting other opportunities to like continue this work, continue that thinking. So. Yeah, and now I'm actually, this is like my last week before I start my new job.
Wait, congratulations!
Thank you. We about to be back in the schedule.
I love that.
Yes.
But even with the program too, your group, y'all was like the top 3, top 5.
Top 3.
Okay, top 3.
Top 3.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know, and I'm like, okay, now what y'all gonna do? But it was it felt good to be recognized, and it felt good to also just like, again, run into practice of it. Not feeling like, when you get laid off, you kind of feel like cut off from a world that was like your normal.
Yeah.
And so it was so good that I had opportunities to make me feel still like a part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you really like you maximize your time.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of is a blessing in disguise sometimes when you have that freedom to kind of like what you did. You was able to pick up a client. You were able to expand on your knowledge and pick up some classes and learn some new and expand on what you already know, and then you apply all of that to a program and got to showcase everything that you've been taught, or all of your experiences, and made it to the top 3, and then still applying, still looking for jobs, and now you got a whole new job. That's amazing.
Thank
Eva.
you.
I'm like,
I know, it's crazy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome. This girl be working hard, okay? Like, I'm so inspired.
Thank
for real.
you.
When I say I'm inspired, I'm really inspired.
I appreciate that. I mean,
yeah.
I know I just be feeling like there's so much that I can just like, I'm just, my whole world is open to so much of this just learning and getting deeper into it. And I know like every next chapter is just pushing me really close towards this like next thing, and it's always going to evolve. But I'm very grateful. It was 6 months actually to the day almost.
Wow. This is 6 months.
Yeah.
And what you got, the Funemployment?
Funemployment. That's the girls were calling it Funemployment. It wasn't that much fun in the beginning. It was a little maddening, okay?
Yeah.
I was losing it. But yeah, it really all worked out, like in a way of what I learned and what boundaries I set and how I feel also refreshed, like low key. Like I was able to actually like just turn off. I've never had that break. I've always worked from job to job to job. So I've been blessed to never be in like a position. So it was interesting to have that. So.
And you still kept busy too. It's not like you even just got to sit down. You made sure you was busy.
I said we gotta do it. I know. And sometimes I could have stayed, I could have rested, but not,
Yeah.
It's all good.
So congratulations on the new job again.
Thank you.
And you were going through that Funemployment phase.
Yes.
So like what motivated you to stay consistent throughout that phase? Because I feel like a lot of times people can just get thrown off or, like really give up.
Yeah, that's real. And I could see that because like there is, especially in the time that it happened, like layoffs were like a everyday thing. So it was always being plagued with like, oh, who am I competing with now? God damn it now. It's everybody at the party. And it was so easy, but I think I was like, I don't know, but this time feels like this is a perfect moment for me to really like, take 2.0 who I was. And like, there's no distractions of like, hey, work and all this. And like, I could really like see those things I want to work on. And everything that I wanted to work on, I got to. Like, the presenting was something for me that I was like very much struggling with. And the CCNY opportunity, I literally was presenting in a room of like 100 or so people. My first time. And
for the first time.
Yes. I've never presented. I came through the Zoom era, so I was like, okay. And I did wonderful. I was me. I felt like I was me. And I think that I needed that break. I needed that time to be away from like being in that every day. So it was always just about what are the things I want to work on, and like that be my motivation. And just a new one. Yeah.
So with staying consistent, how were you able to like overcome those creative blocks or those moments where like I just can't right now?
Yeah, I mean, girl, You can't fight it. My thing is this, like, it's nothing's worse than having a creative block and having a deadline. Because then you're like, this time I need it. And I can't. But the same point is, like, if you're not going to get anything done, don't try to work through it and you just do something lackluster. Like, for me, it's step away. Go find something to take you out of that environment. And for me, it was like, go walk my dog.
Yes.
Go listen to my podcast. But literally walk around, stretch, like, and you just, if you gotta revisit, you gotta revisit. And I can't force it. I'm not gonna go and try to, like, let me immerse myself. I just gotta turn it off.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel like you hit any of those moments with the Kobe report?
Oh, you know what? Yes, absolutely. But I think it was more of like my own, like, internal, like, oh, can I push this? Can I do this? And I think that, like, what I did is I took breaks. Like, I was allowed that. Our schedule, like, it didn't feel so, like, I don't have time to, like, step away.
Mm-hmm.
And that stepping away time gave me a lot of insight to just be like, oh, look at it differently, see other ways.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I needed that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what I was asking for, would you say it was simple?
No. It wasn't. I think you didn't realize how big of it would be.
Yeah.
And some of it too, I started to come into like, oh, this is actually more. But I loved it. Like, I love the like experience of it. I love being able to really like examine something and look at it. So yeah, like it was dope.
Cause I feel like during the process too, I didn't really know all that I would need until like things would come up. And it's like, oh, I have a YouTube. Now I need a YouTube banner. Like, can you make something is that normal for a client to?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I think that, like, I remember with the assets, I'm like, yeah, she's gonna need assets across the board for like you said, like the YouTube and like just other different pieces. And I wanted to make sure like you're very hands-on, like Canva girl, you know.
I am a Canva. You was like, this is looking like Canva.
Yeah. And I was like, listen, you know, let's kind of input it. And again, shout out to the program. Adobe was one of the sponsors. We got to go through Adobe Express, like, training.
You put me onto that.
And
figure that out.
Listen, I low key Adobe Express not need to pay me because I got my aunt.
Yeah.
I set her up where I'm helping her create flyers. And it's Adobe Express. You've been doing really good.
You might need to look into that. Maybe you could have an Adobe Express class or something like that. Master class or something like that. That's true.
I ain't that good yet. I'll be struggling sometimes. But you know what? You never know. You never know. I might have to
you put people on. I downloaded it because of you.
It is, and it made our workflow in the stream so much easier. Where you're able to like, oh, I need to create things, and I've started creating some like templates for you to work off of. But like for the most part, like, you can play around, get the right dimension, or I need this is coming out now, something, and all of our assets are there. So for me, I think it's always been like how I can give you enough tools where it can be consistent, you know, so it doesn't look like, oh wait, you know, one day it's this and then the next day you're like, there's a guidebook for you.
With a guidebook, because I feel like you were very specific and, you know, very intentional with when creating these assets. It was just like, you know, we started with, what did we start with? We have the color palette. You know, it was just like, and I kind of kept it the same color palette from the original logo, but we kind of also added and expanded to that. Yeah. And then what else was in? What else is included in like a branding
a full brand guide?
Brand guide.
We did a full, and honestly, also shout out to the really amazing designers in my life that I've had exposure to. Okay.
Shout out to y'all.
Okay, because they really did it. Kay, that's one of my besties, and has been like just so vocal and so like just a good soundboard to help kind of give me guidance on your project and really kind of be like, okay, this is how you should format it, how you should like giving me just really good feedback. She's a really good designer. She's a really good, again, art director.
Right.
Just
community, everything.
Yeah.
You can't do it alone.
And I'm telling you, and I think it was able for me to like really make sure I was giving you deliverables that really makes sense. And
Right.
really, yeah. So we pretty much, we took we did like the typography.
The typography includes like the font for the logo.
Yep, for the logo, and then what you use for like your just normal day-to-day assets, your standard. And then we did the artwork for the actual podcast. We did
the artwork. And so you created a few different ones, because we have like the one that I really love, which is I've been using the CCs.
Yeah.
And at first I had some feedback for you with that, because I was just like, why are we doing C's when it's like, shouldn't it be CR?
Yeah. But it's like, you notice the Colby is more pronounced. That's more of the,
And Colby is the overall. You know, it's not just about the report. You know, it's the overall branding of the Colby. So,
Yeah,
you had to push it back to me.
I did, because, and I loved it, because in the process I would see you be like, well, why are we doing this? But I also had to learn too, like, you would have pushes that actually would make the work feel like, oh, I was like, wow, I'm glad she pushed me on that, because I was able to like explore and push it and get to a place where I'm like, oh, this feels good. So I welcomed a lot of your like, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? Because often it worked, and we were able to like really get it to a place where it just, we felt both things merged. So
right. And I think too, with collaboration, and I feel like a lot of people get hiccups on, it's just kind of like when you're collaborating with someone, it's because like you value and appreciate their expertise, and vice versa. So it's just like, I would tell you like, listen, I don't know nothing about this, I'm not experienced in this, and it's like, I trust you. I trust you.
And that was good. It was a good feeling, because I noticed when you really were like, when you first saw the first deliverables, you were like, okay, like we're really on page, on the same, like. And it felt good, because I think that definitely guided the experience of like, all right, like she's moving in a direction that I can like follow, and that was good. I remember that.
Good synergy.
It was. We held it down.
Yeah, it can be difficult, and I've been in situations where it's just been like, okay, this is supposed to be a collaborative effort, but it feels like you just telling me what to do.
Yeah.
You're telling me how to do my job.
I know. and that's the thing. I gotta say, I am a good collaborator. There's a lot of ego in my industry. There's a lot of like, I need to, and I think that when you do that, you stifle yourself, your ideas, and the energy. Energy has to flow, and it gotta like be able to mix. And so I feel like I was able to always be open to things that you have, because I'm like, doesn't mean that you can't like trigger something really dope. So gotta leave that at the door.
So what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions of an art director?
I think the biggest misconceptions is just the boxes that we get put into. I think that a lot of time you're like, oh, you need to be this, or you do this, you're a designer. And a lot of times that relationship, it's different, and it can play out differently. And so I think that can be it. I think also too, the levels of it. Like, art direction is in every different type of like space.
Because I was about to say, like, even when I'm on set, there's like an art director on set watching the camera and looking for all of those small little details that I may not have noticed.
Exactly.
You know?
And exactly, in all different fields. And I think that was opening up for me too, to know like, I don't have to just be in one space. And there's so many different places in which we can be positioned in different types of like industries. Like, do you want to be in film? Do you want to be more, whatever? It's broad.
Yeah. I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions, especially when I don't know why I just envision like, I mean, and you can tell me this, but when I think of like director, for some reason I just think of like somebody that's like 60.
Right.
Like, do you feel like with your title and your role, like, do people have like these expectations of you when they see you, like, oh, she's so young, like,
right? Well,
what experience does she have?
And this is the thing also, it's funny because it's honestly opposite. I think that people, the industry tends to be lean more towards like younger people, and I'm not younger people's anymore, unfortunately. I might be
can't tell.
even the girls.
You can't even tell.
I might be this big, you know, but I be, you know, I think I definitely kind of like be looking like, okay, she's younger, whatever, what have you. But that actually, I feel like the industry is more like, okay, you're young, upcoming talent. But they also want you to have experience. It's weird. But then you gotta have all this experience. But then they're also like, but you gotta be young, you gotta be Gen Z.
They want you to be
you gotta be this.
Yeah, they want you to have the new, fresh,
exactly right.
Yeah.
And so I think that it is kind of hard for like in that program CCNY. I got to like a lot of the creatives were women from starting from their 20s to their 60s, and women who were just trying to get back in it. And a lot of their concerns were that they felt like they couldn't be in the space because it was like they didn't feel like they were trendy, they were young, they were like the commodity that like you dangle in front of clients. And you know, I think that was interesting for me because for one, I always just feel like you gotta stay curious, and I think staying curious will always show that it will show in your work and it'll show in your just ability to come in and adapt. And so I think that's my goal to like combating the way that like as you age out of the hot demographic, you can still like be a part of it and don't feel like you're like, oh, I can't contribute to the space.
Yeah, staying curious is very important. And you can never really feel like I know it all.
Yeah.
You know, like once you get to that place where you feel like I know it all, I've done it all, I've seen it all, it's just kind of like the industry will show you. Yes. They will literally push you away. Yeah. And there will be no place for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, you really cannot be in this industry and think like, okay, I've reached all I can know. Because you will literally be devoured by people who are hungry, who are already like
the
understudied. Okay? So that's another thing. You gotta listen to the kids.
Because they will literally tell you.
Exactly.
How would you say you maintain balance between expressing your creativity but also meeting a client's expectations?
I think that's always a balance and it's a challenge. I think one thing is you gotta understand like this is their work. It's your work, but it's their work. They're paying you for their work. And I think that like knowing that how I can input my creative expertise has to always complement what they want to see. And it's a constant battle. It is, but you really do have to always separate and know when to like the goal is not to be right. It's not to be like because then like if you have to push that hard, then you might not be pushing the right thing. So it's more of like the goal is like cohesion and to keep this business.
Yeah.
And
I think I deal with that too. And that's why I say like just having the ability in my situation where it's just like I'm contracted, you know, I get to say yes and say no to certain things. So I always try to make sure that whoever I'm working with, it does align, you know, with me. So it's not like way off.
Yeah.
Because with styling, it's just kind of like, I don't want to change you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to make you look like somebody else. Like, that's never the goal. I want to enhance. You know, like I want to enhance your style. I'm not here to give you a new style.
Right.
Unless you literally have no style. It's just like, I hate fashion.
Yeah.
But it's just like, even with that, like you like certain things, you know, like you know what feels good. So it's just like, I just want to make it better. And I felt like working with you was just kind of like, you asked a lot of the right questions in the beginning to kind of know like where I was trying to go with this. And I never really felt like you were trying to take me off straight. And even if there was some things that was just kind of like, you know, like I would let you know and we would kind of like come back to it. And
Absolutely. Because like, and especially with you, it was a lot more of a personal project where sometimes these clients, this is their job. So they might not
the money.
Yeah, so they're that can be frustrating when you have to be like, you know, you be like, oh, they don't even care about the art, the color, and I get it. But at the same time,
they don't care.
They don't. A lot of times they don't, and a lot of times they be so wrong, and they be so like. But that's always that thing. But with you, it was like, no, this is important to you. This project is like a big part of you. So it really was like, okay, we're gonna get this. We're gonna get the best parts of it, and we're gonna make this like really just bloom. And we're gonna make a system so it can expand with you. You know, and I feel like we definitely did that.
Yeah. So when you're like working with these clients, or even with me, like when we were working together, like how do you manage like criticism and like feedback?
Well, I don't. No, I'm playing. I'm just playing. No, honestly, with feedback, it's always like you have to look at it from like, what are they saying? What are you feeling attacked by? Because again, you gotta check your ego. Because if it's if it's like, oh, you want me to see this in this way, and I don't think we should. Well, it's like if it's something, I get it. If you're on round 35 and it's like, okay, they're like, no, we gotta cut it off now. We can't keep going revision, but if it's literally like something that is just like it's gonna push slightly, like check it out, see what's going on, like, and also like hear what you're saying, so then I can communicate to myself like, how can we meet in the middle? How can I either like adjust, but also like I'm not gonna rebut against something without like, hey, like I'm gonna take a step back. Yeah. I'm not gonna be right away be like, well, no. I'm like, let me think about that. So then I could come back and I could make sense of like it, not in the moment, where I might be like, I don't want to change this. And it always helps feel a lot more clear.
Yeah, I feel like with us we were going back and forth with what image do we use to put on the cover, and it was just like, I was like, but my eyes aren't looking directly at the camera. And like, we should use a photo where I'm looking. And at first, I think you didn't want me to use the laid back photo.
I know.
But then when you included it, I was like, but why should you use that one?
Yes. And then I was like, I love it. I was like, this is hot. We got it. Yeah. And again, I love that it was that challenge, because we wanted your photo to feel like it was kind of like a part of the graphic of the logo, but kind of coming out of it. And I think it worked well with the photo we chose, and that was a push. So
I think with collaboration, all sides just have to be open. You do have to kind of like shut that ego down and like give it a try, even if it's like, I just be like, even if I know, like, this is what they want and I know it's not going to work, but I just got to let them see it. So they can just be like, oh, you was right,
Yeah, you do. You really do. You do.
So what would you say has been, like, the best piece of advice you've received in your career thus far? Or, it could have been something you just heard, maybe. I don't know.
That's, I don't want to say no like Maya Angelou quote. Phenomenal. No. You know what? I will say was the most recent that was the most helpful. And again, I'm going to go back to the CCNY presentation. My mentor, creative mentor that we had, Mila, I don't want to butcher her last name, but Mila, she was so good. And me and my team were like about to go up, and we're a little nervous. Feeling well, and she just said and it was very simple, but for me, I think it kind of unlocked something. I think I was always having issues with not being myself when I presented, or when I just kind of like had to kind of express something. I always feel like I have to over explain, and it sounds so like I'm pulling words, and like I sound like I just got out, and I'm just like, I've been reading the dictionary. Like, what are you saying? And so what that advice that she gave me was just like, talk like yourself. You understand what you're saying. You like, don't try to over talk it. Don't try to don't try to just be something and talk in a way or show up in a way that's not you, because it's not gonna translate. It's gonna feel, but like really like just bring you. And again, I've heard that before. It wasn't new.
Just be yourself.
But the way she said it, and then the moment, it was like that Rocky moment when they on the, they about to get in there, and then it just was like, oh, a light bulb, and it really rang true. And I feel like I'm taking that into this next chapter with me. Like, talk like how you say things, how I would have these breaks and be like, and that's
your authentic self.
Yeah, and that felt very true for me.
Unapologetically you.
Okay, come on, that's Maya Angelou. No, that's something else.
That's something else. Yeah, something else.
It is. Yes.
No, I feel like with advice, I feel like we hear the same things over and over. But sometimes it's just like, oh, I guess it depends on where you're at that day when you hear it,
Yes.
and who. It also depends on the messenger.
Yes.
You know, because
Right.
can't everybody tell you, like, you can't be telling me that. Like,
no.
why would I listen to you?
Right. I mean, like, but then look at you.
Right,
Can
like-
you do it?
Right.
Nah.
right, yeah,
Nah.
yeah.
That's real. That's real.
Now that is real, and I think that's also very important. Just being yourself, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I'm constantly, working on. It's just being my true, authentic self. I mean, I am always my true, authentic self, but I feel
Yeah.
like in certain rooms, you feel like, oh, I gotta like maybe speak it this way, or maybe I have to
Yeah.
use a certain vocabulary, or I gotta look a certain way, or like you just felt a little uncomfortable being
do.
yourself sometimes.
You do. And if they wanted that, then they would have bought that. That's out there.
Yeah.
They can get that. It's very easy.
Period. So, what advice would you give to little Eva?
Oh, God.
What advice
First
would
of
you
all,
give to your younger self?
I'd be like, girl, first of all, like, little Eva was just a daydreamer.
Okay,
She was very in the clouds.
Okay.
I would say just like, I didn't realize what I was doing was like talented.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I just always felt like I just did a lot of things that was really, really good for my age. Like, I would play things by ear, but I would kind of hide all those talents. I was really good at drawing. I was really good at so much. And I think that, like, as I started to hide them, older, I'm more and more, I just started to feel like that wasn't a part of me, or wasn't important, it wasn't special. And I think that confidence kind of rooted itself into other ways in which you could be like, oh, I can do these great things, but yet I'm not good enough. I'm not, because I'm just like kind of hiding it. So I think it would just be like, stop hiding your shit. I say it just like that.
Shit.
Well, depending on how old she was. But I would be like, stop hiding what you have. Like, show it. Be proud of it.
Yes.
Put it out there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And are you still hiding to this day?
No, especially I look, shit, earned this Funemployment. I was like, look at this. Look what I can do. Can hide.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stop hiding.
Stop hiding.
Stop hiding your talent.
hiding.
Stop hiding your gifts.
Yes.
You were blessed with those things,
Yeah.
and the world needs to see them.
Yeah, and just be proud. You can talk about it.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What are some new goals and new aspirations? I know you got your new job, so it's just like,
Yeah.
are we still reaching for more, or
absolutely.
like, okay.
Oh no, bro. There's more. There's more. Yo, everything is a stepping stone. I
Right.
think that, like, I'm in a place now where I'm like, I know the direction. I want to get into more TV again. Film.
Yes.
I feel like I want to touch like these bigger campaign moments.
Mhm.
Film, and possibly, like, again, I'm gonna say it twice. And a third time, film. I want to expand it. I've been in the social world working with that, so I want to make sure I'm not closing myself off to these bigger avenues. And yeah, like just running at these creative at different leeways and get into that bigger CCO.
Okay,
all
that's
that.
where we going.
Yeah,
That's where we
yeah,
going. Okay, I love that.
Yeah, it's all that.
Well, thank you again. This
Thank
has
you.
been truly amazing. I feel like I've learned more about you.
I know.
I feel like I didn't know
Me
like
too.
you were really like the jack of all trades.
I know.
Literally. Like,
I know.
that's crazy.
It
Stop
is.
hiding them talents.
Stop hiding. Get them off them gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Kobe Report.
I love it. Yes.
And yeah, if you all like what you heard today, please make sure you like and subscribe. We are available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And until next time.